We should never allow the government to decide what is acceptable speech and what is unacceptable speech. We should penalize behaviors, not opinions, and not speech. If you start trying to regulate speech, you start trying to regulate thoughts, you start trying to regulate beliefs rather than behaviors, there's no way that you're not going to abridge the constitutional rights of millions of Americans.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm David Carter for CBS News. Tonight, we're going to be discussing a network station in Atlanta who has progressively shown bias against whites, and specifically a passive viewpoint of loyalty towards not only Democratic viewpoints of hate towards Republicans, but also against whites. They advocate for black supremacy, for black acceptance and supremacy over really all of races in the United States. I refer to Channel 11, who's behind me. The station consistently ignores emails and letters that I send to them. If I ask questions regarding their station's viewpoints of certain subjects relating to things they bring up on their news coverage, there is a consistent lack of interest in talking to people unless you agree with them on the subjects they talk about. And my only recourse in expressing my own opinions about Channel 11 is to do videos on YouTube about them as a station. And I can tell you honestly, I know they used to watch my videos because I did a comical type of overview of some of the ads that they still show today. And at one time, Sheba Russell was doing an ad where she was gyrating on the commercials that they were doing about The Rush, which is a group of their anchors who do morning shows on 11 Alive. And as soon as I did a comedy about her, they changed it. And that proved to me that they do watch my videos, because if they responded that quickly to a video that I've done about Reba or Sheba and all the other ones, then it means that they must take seriously what I say, because otherwise they wouldn't have changed that ad. But there was a story aired 2 days ago at 5 o'clock on Channel 11, and one of their anchors who used to be with Channel 5, Jeff Hullinger. This guy used to really be a good sportscaster. And he covered all the Atlanta Braves games at the old Fulton County Stadium. So I've always considered this guy to be reputable. And I've emailed him a couple of times, and I did actually get one response where I was asking about how can Channel 11 show this favoritism viewpoint towards blacks and this hatred projected constantly not only against President Trump but against the Republican Party, against whites in general. And he answered me back with just this one phrase: I only report the news. And though I have sent emails to Jeff Hullinger since then asking him, well, isn't that sort of like the normal cop-out that even the Germans used when they were tried at the Nuremberg trials for killing all those innocent Jewish people? Because they were asked, each general, why did you permit so many millions of innocent human beings to die in the concentration camps? And this is what each of the generals said: we take no responsibility, we were following the orders given to us by Adolf Hitler. And that's exactly the same attitude that Channel 11 takes to this day of what they do with their network station. This is the same viewpoint they take about why they believe that what President Obama endorsed is something they still adhere to, that all Democrats I call them Democrats because they are, they continue the same junk and crap that Obama started back in 2008. Example of that is this constant 2 years now ongoing bashing against President Trump every single day. I'm thinking, how can it humanly be possible for them to do this ongoing? It's like, it's just unbelievable they have the strength every day to continue doing these things. Don't you think they get tired of doing it? They get tired of constantly bringing up more and more trash that they can find about him without finally just saying, this has just gone on too far, we don't need to do this anymore. You don't see any kind of let up on this constant harassment. They're going full force against President Trump every day. And I wanted to get to the video I'm talking about. There's this black UGA, University of Georgia, staff professor. And they did the story on their news 2 days ago, and Jeff Hellinger did the story. And he said that the professor made the comment, all whites must die in order for the black race and its supremacy agenda that they've been over and over pushing and forcing on the American public since Obama was president, to feel like they've accomplished something as a race finally in their 160 some odd year existence since they were brought here as slaves from Africa. And the viewpoint of the whole story was this. First of all, he's black. Number two, I found out he's Muslim. So those are the two things that for Channel 11, they feel like, okay, this is just now two advantages to this individual who made these slur remarks against whites. So therefore, this is what Jeff Hellinger said about this guy. They are going to bring his statements to the attention of the Attorney General of Georgia. And they said it in such a laughing way to determine of whether or not we should do anything against this individual who made these comments. You know and I know, if a white person had said anything similar to this about a black, he would have been fired immediately. He would have been arrested for a hate crime. But now you do it on the flip side and say, well, blacks are totally the opposite of that. If a black says something slanderous against a white person, it is expunged, it is ignored by the media, it is ignored by our society, that they, as blacks, are above the law, they're above accountability for the comments they make. And Channel 11 consistently has done this even when Obama was in office. And I attribute it to this fact that, first of all the networks are controlled to this day by President Obama, by his communist socialist group calling themselves the Socialist Party of Democrats. They use the same philosophies that the Soviets, the Russians, every communist nation on this earth has ever used. Subversion, really objective slander. Seems like they think it catapults them to a new level of acceptance by people who don't want what's normal, what's right. They want to destroy everybody else so that their agenda continues on indefinitely. And I say this on my channel to Channel 11. If you cannot say the truth, then you are already in violation of your Hippocratic oath as an actual journalistic organization to be fair and to be impartial in what you say. And you should not be saying squat. You shouldn't say anything, because you're not being objective in what you say about a subject that affects everybody across the board in this country today. You are responsible as a media outlet to be truth, honest, and fair towards the subject matters you discuss. that's true not only of 11 Alive, but of all the other networks around this country. Every network affiliate station is controlled and manipulated by the Socialist Communist Democratic Party. And you see that by this this non-stop, unending condemnation against President Trump and what he's doing as our president. And I have never ever seen in the history of this nation the kind of attack against the highest ranking chief executive officer of our government as they've done since President Trump was elected in 2016. When Obama left office, you saw this this attitude of total hate towards the Republican Party because they knew they had won the election. And everything since that day has been to try to find any and every kind of lie they can bring up against President Trump. And they did it even on the day he was inaugurated. The women in the crowd at the actual ceremony refused to stand. And it was disrespectful on the part of President Trump that they did nothing to stand in respect of the office he was accepting. And it's been that way ever since. And every time somebody in his administration leaves, I account this attitude of indifference by the media to the fact that if the Democrats have as much money as they've shown they have, and they can manipulate everybody around them, you cannot say that the Democrats haven't paid off every person who has ended up leaving in some capacity in President Trump's administration, whether it be Cohen, whether it be Comey, whether it be any of the people who have walked out. You can't tell me it was not because they were paid off by the Democrats to do that against his office, against his administration. And it's criminal in my book, because what they do to President Trump when they do these things, you would never have ever seen such a thing being done against Obama. Never. They never would have done such a thing to Obama because, number one, they love him, they worship him, they still idolize him to this day. And he's not actually physically out there in front of a camera, but you can still feel the influence of what Obama began and how his viewpoints that certain groups should have an advantage over everybody else. That's not equality. And I'm referring to homosexuals. I'm referring to this this carnal attitude that illegal drugs that were always seen to be lethal to our young people and to our society are now accepted. They are pushed, they are forced on society. That's not just heroin or marijuana. Fentanyl, methamphetamine, cocaine, crack, every kind of illegal drug you can think of. What are they doing? They're saying we don't need ICE. We don't need the drug enforcement agencies that represent keeping America safe and secure. They certainly do not want a wall, which is why Trump stands by his guns on making the Democratic Party responsible for making this shutdown happen. And the media doesn't blame the Democratic Party for anything. Have you noticed that? It's always, the blame is on Trump. It's always on the Republican Party. There is no literal hand pointing at the Democratic Party, especially Pelosi, for her temper tantrums. They say, oh, well, Trump's the temper tantrum creator, not Pelosi, not Schumer, none of the others. And I'm saying all of this is proof positive that you will never get a fair shake on media coverage or news when you have all major outlets adhering and standing with President Obama's agendas of what he wanted and what he continues, which is a new world order, which is a global government system. And a global government system only can function if enough nations in the world adhere to communism. And he already has that with Russia. He has it with China. Cuba has never changed from being what it was when even President John F. Kennedy was the President of the United States. They were communists there. There's communists now. What did Obama say? Well, we have to change our viewpoints about communism. We just got to accept them. We have to even accept their philosophies into our culture. Don't believe it? Look at what's happening right now in our nation. They are attacking President Trump because he stands for what America was founded on, freedom and liberty. They are standing on the attitude that communism and socialism, they work, even though you look at Russia. And Russia initially was a total, complete collapse, failure because of communism. Putin has now gone really to another step level of communism, and he's reacquired everything that was at one time the Soviet Union, and now it is now the Communist Federation of Russia. And we know North Korea is communist, and yet Trump tries as much as he can to try to keep an open door to talking with Kim Jong-un. Now, when Obama was president, if anybody remembers this, the only thing he did in 8 years' time was to fly a B-1 bomber over Pyongyang. And he said, well, this is just a symbolic gesture of our superiority, or our power as a nation. And that's all he did. He did not confront the North Koreans. He did not call them out and say, you are responsible for your actions. And then all of a sudden, Trump was left with the mess that Obama created in this country. And he's done such an incredibly good job in the 3 years he's been president of this country. And nobody puts any kind of a rating on what good he has done on this nation, because Trump is the only one who did. He's done 3 years worth of really a miraculous turnaround in our economy. And in 8 years' time, Obama just let blacks, he let Latinos in here free of charge. We picked up the tab on the financial backing of these individuals who were not citizens. And he let the blacks sit at home and live on welfare for 8 years. And he gave a check to them every week. And that's one reason he did give them checks. He said, if you vote for me as president, I'm going to pay your bills. And the night he was elected, there was a black woman on television saying over and over again, he's going to pay my bills. He's going to pay my bills. He's going to pay my bills. And that's exactly what Obama is still doing today. He is not president, but you see the influences he started with this country, and it's continuing. And I say there is nothing now that can stop Obama's New World Order from initiating. George Bush Sr. said it 23 times as President of the United States. There is a New World Order coming. Now today, if you use even a small excerpt of George Bush saying those words, New World Order, YouTube bans it. They restrict the fact that Bush even said those words in a speech. He said it in a State of the Union speech. I have it. I've used it one time because I figured, well, it's more than 30 years ago he said it. Well, YouTube restricted it and said you can't say those things on your channel. You can't say it on YouTube. Why? Because Obama does not want the world to know that his global government system that he continues to advance is out there, and it's still working to this day. Artificial intelligence. The blacks brag about it every day. Oh, it's the greatest thing. Folks, artificial intelligence has already been told to the entire globe through the Holy Bible. It said it in Revelation. The Antichrist would create an entity, something that is not alive, but it will have the ability to be alive. It will speak. It will walk. It will move in such a way that it symbolically looks like a human being, but it won't be alive. And this is what the Bible says. The Antichrist will use that technology to control the world. He'll put an artificial intelligence in charge in Jerusalem when he rebuilds the temple. And then who knows what he's going to do. He's probably going to start persecuting, if he hasn't already started now, persecuting every Christian on earth. He's not going to do it to the Muslims. He's not going to do it to Hindus. He's not going to do it to Buddhists. There's only one religion in the world today that is now more persecuted than it was even during the time when the Romans were in charge of the Roman Empire, and that's Christianity today. At that time, Christians had to flee and actually live in caves. They had to live underground. Why? Because the Romans were not only just persecuting them, they were killing them on sight. Well, I guarantee you, Obama and his global world order is going to force that on our nation. He's going to force it around the world. He's going to tell the world, this is what I'm going to do. You all love me. You all idolize me right now. So this is exactly what you can expect. And the Bible does say very clearly that the tribulation will begin only after the resurrection of the church. This means that once he comes totally to the public viewpoint of addressing himself as the global world leader, as the so-called Messiah, the rapture has to happen. And that's because you're going to have so many millions of people around the world who are gone that Obama won't have any problem taking over the White House or the United Nations or any other nation on this planet, because he's going to be right there in front. He's going to be right there telling the public, telling the world, don't worry about all this craziness going on. I'm going to resolve it. These network stations are the ones who are preparing the public to accept whatever Obama tells them. That's why if they don't like somebody that Obama is not endorsing, who does not endorse Obama and what he stands for, and Trump definitely does not, they say, no, we can't accept this individual. We have to condemn him. We have to retaliate against him every chance we have to destroy what he stands for, which is the last hope, the last bastion of liberty and freedom in America. When he leaves, unless somebody good like him gets in office, what we saw for 8 years under Obama will be 1,000,000 times worse thereafter. And then you're going to see Obama himself, very likely it will be him, after the rapture, we know he will, coming forward and saying, from this day forward, you will take a mark representing your loyalty to me, your worship of me. And 19, almost 20 years ago, there was a sermon that was done by a preacher, and he said, I think his name was Reverend Blair, he was mentioning the fact that somebody gave him this little pinky ring, and in the center of that little pinky ring was a microchip. And he said this thing was designed in certain countries of the world where you could scan it over a barcode or a type of an infrared light scanner, and it would read everything about you. And the Bible already says that when the Antichrist forces you to take this mark, he said, you're not only giving your loyalty to me and selling your soul to me, but you're also, this is the only way you're going to have to continue to buy and sell anything you own, to buy food on your table. Everything is going to center around this mark that's going to identify you, giving your total allegiance to Obama and to what he represents. And the technology has existed probably for the last 10 years already. Why haven't they instigated it? You've heard about it. I'll tell you why. Because the rapture hasn't happened yet. When the rapture happens, there's going to be such chaos. When he comes on television and tells you you have to take the mark on your head or on your hand, they're going to be stampeding over other people to get to those kiosks to take that mark. Because that's the kind of loyalty that people have for him right now. That's the kind of loyalty that people wanted ever since the day he legalized marijuana. The day he legalized every kind of opioid. And now today, do you see them blaming Obama for the kinds of epidemics we're facing with the overdoses? NBC does a story every other week called America Overdosed. You know who started that? It was Obama who started that. Obama started the legalization of opioids. Things that we've known 40, 50 years ago kill people. Marijuana kills people. Today, what do? They laugh it off. They say, who cares if it kills me? I'm just feeling good inside. I don't care whether I die tomorrow. That's the fatalism of what our society is now. They don't care about anything. They care about getting high, living their days, thinking that one day Obama is going to return and he's going to fix everything that Trump has tried to correct since Obama left. And people want that chaos that Obama continued for 10 years. It's plus 10 years, because Obama, for 11 years now, since the day he became president, continues what he started in this country. And he's not stopping what he started, because once the Antichrist starts a program, it will be finished, at least until Jesus Christ returns and defeats him, because we already know from the Bible how it's going to end. And so does Satan, so does Lucifer, so does the devil. They know what's going to happen because the Bible's already predicted it. The Bible has already said over and over in history, these things will happen. And all the Bible says you can do is accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. Because if you don't, the Bible says, woe unto you, because you'll suffer so much more persecution during the 7 years that the Antichrist rules the world. 3.5 years will be peace. This is the lie. The idea that the world will be completely in a utopia. I would say that's what Obama told people in 2008. There will be utopia because I'm going to take everyone's money, those who earned it, those who may or may not be entitled to it, and he's going to give it to everybody else who don't work, who don't do nothing. Don't believe it? Look back on YouTube and look up Joe the Plumber. This is a bald-headed plumber guy who was there during the time that Obama was running for President of the United States. And Obama told him to his face, I'm going to take what you've earned all your life and I'm going to give it to somebody else who don't want to work. And Joe the Plumber scratched his head and said, you mean to tell me that what I've earned all my life and what I've worked and sweated over, you're going to give it to some bum that doesn't want to work? And Obama said to his face, that is exactly what I'm going to do. And people to this day idolize that. They worship that. They worship Obama. Why? Because they believe the lie that he started in 2008, and he's still doing it today. To get back to what I was trying to say in this video, the individual Amre Usay Frimpong, and I think that's how you pronounce it, this guy said, for black supremacy and for blacks to advance in our society, he said, all white people must die. And we heard this actually on a Channel 11, it was called The Reveal. One night they were doing a story about all these people who were wearing the Trump Make America Great Again hats. And the anchor who was there, he was sitting with all these other people, said the exact same wording. Whites must die in order for the black to progress beyond where they are right now as a race. And I asked myself, how have we come to this point in our culture where certain races now are being subjugated to other races? In other words, there is going to be another civil war in America. And this time it's not going to be between regions of the United States. It's not going to be between the South or the East or the West or the North. This is going to be between two races. It's going to be between blacks and it's going to be between whites. And how can you stop a civil war, folks, if you don't have one outlying factor which the Antichrist will use to control everybody? It's called martial law. Martial law means whoever's president, his terms end. Thereafter, he stays forever, because that's what the Constitution says. And Obama probably intended that to happen before he left after his second term. But there wasn't enough momentum as yet that has started to make that possible. That does not, however, mean once the rapture is instigated that this will begin immediately after, because there are going to be so many people gone that those who are unsaved and who are left in this world, they'll accept it. They will accept Whatever Obama tells them. Give me the mark. Brand it on me. Whatever you want to do, I'll accept it. That's the kind of loyalty Obama has to this day from blacks, from Latinos. Latinos came here believing that Obama has said to them over and over again, you come to the United States, you will never have to leave this nation again. 2010, this is before his second term, I was traveling to New Orleans. Told you about this in another video. I was on a train and I was traveling to New Orleans. There was a Mexican guy who went to the laboratory at least 8 or 9 times. All of a sudden the train stopped. On the train came a Mississippi state trooper because we were at the line between Louisiana and Mississippi. And this is what the state trooper told this Mexican guy who was sitting down. He had just come back to his seat. Sir, you're leaving this train. And the Mexican said, what are you talking about? And the Mexican was told by the state trooper, 8 different employees of Amtrak saw you smoking marijuana in the laboratory. So he told him 2 other times, a police command, get up, you're leaving this train. And this is what the Mexican finally told the police officer. It doesn't matter what you do to me. He says, Obama has already promised us we will never have to go back. Now, he didn't know enough English to understand probably what the cop was saying to him, but he certainly had enough understanding of what Obama promised every Mexican who came here illegally. You will never, ever have to go back to Mexico, because that's what he did. He gave them total and complete amnesty. And when I saw that, it just confirmed what I always knew about who Obama really was. He is bringing all the people he can into this country to help keep the New World Order agenda continuing until it is completed. And I say to 11 Alive, I say this to Channel 5, the Fox affiliate in Atlanta, I say this to WSB Television, Channel 2, if you don't start taking a stand on what you know is right, and to stand against somebody who has that kind of supernatural demonic power over this world, then the Lord help you, because there is no way you're going to be able to write it off or try and explain it when the final judgment comes, because you as a news organization are responsible to your viewers. You are not only responsible to the viewer, you're also responsible to somebody a lot higher than the Antichrist, and that's God himself. You are responsible for what you report on your station, on your network. Channel 11, I say already, shame on you, because that's exactly what you've already shown the world and Atlanta that you care about. That's Obama. That's about his philosophies, his agendas, which are socialism first, communism is the same thing. Freedom must die. Freedom must end. And that means only blacks are allowed freedom, because they're the only ones that they are showing they have total empathy for, total respect and loyalty to the blacks. Whites? No, there is none. There's nothing. And for this guy who worked for the University of Georgia, the station did one story about this, and that's it. They never did a follow-up. They never talked about it again. I emailed Twitter today through to 11 Alive, and I said, why didn't you guys air another follow-up on that story? Why didn't you even broadcast it again? I'll tell you why. Obama says if it's about a negative story on a black person, you might only have to say it once, because it's required of you to do that as a network station or a television station. After that, he probably tells them that's it, cut it off, don't talk about it anymore, and that's what every station does that. They might carry a story about a black person doing something wrong, and then it's pulled, and nothing is ever said again. How did I get what I have right now about this guy? The New York Times did a story about it 2 weeks ago. Thankfully, it's still there. They haven't pulled it. But I guarantee you, you're never going to see that story on Channel 11 again, because the assumption is all stations on television are under a mandate through Obama that once they do a story, it is never again to be discussed on television again. And that's why this guy will get off just like every other black person who does something, either it be racist, whether it be illegal. It'll be discussed once, and that's it. You'll never hear about it again on television. And that is just totally, that is not only, it's not, that's obstruction, if anything, of justice, because you single out whites and say they're doing wrong, and you'll say it over and over and over and over again. And you won't do that same thing against blacks. And I ask why. Well, I mean, I know why. I just told you why. DBL, Channel 11 airs that. I know why, because DBL is actually a TEGNA company. What does that stand for? It stands for the Extremely Gay Network Affiliates Organization. Now, I say that's what it means as far as Atlanta, because that's exactly what they do. They show favoritism and total loyalty to homosexuals, to gays, to every kind of immoral, illicit individual in this country. Why? Because Obama did. He lit the White House up. He lit it up with every color in the rainbow. Did he do that for the police in Ferguson who was shot down and killed? No. He had no intention to. He wants chaos. He wants total anarchy. Because that's how martial law can be instigated so much faster. That's why Obama continually, to this day, stands with things that are just totally unbelievably insane. And he still acts like, well, it just has to be accepted because that's either black culture, that's the homosexuals' way of doing things, whatever. That's why Obama does what he does and gets away with it. He gave $150 billion to Iran. Nobody brings that up. Not to mention the fact that we lost 3, maybe 4 Marines in Benghazi because of Hillary Clinton doing nothing, because of Obama doing nothing. We lost the ambassador in Benghazi. To this day, they were never held accountable for that. They were never accountable for anything. Hillary Clinton gave away, if not destroyed, all of those emails that she was getting. You know what the importance of the email scandal's about? She could have sold, if not gave, all those emails to the Russians. Because we know she was in collusion with Russia even before Trump was elected as president. Remember the dossier she bought? Was she ever brought up on collusion charges about that? No. You see, everything I've proven and shown to you is that there is bias towards the Republican Party only because they don't like him, because they don't think he should have won the election too bad. We voted for him. We, meaning the voters of America. The Democrats are still pouting 2 years later, and they believe that Obama and Hillary should be in the White House. I say, get a life. It's over. Obama did not continue his anarchist. Hillary Clinton, she didn't get elected. We voted for who we believed in. The man's done what he said he was going to do. This is why the shutdown continues, because the Democrats are like, we're not going to sit down and talk with you. We're not going to do anything because Obama doesn't want us to do anything. We want you to look bad to the American people. Wake up call. We know who you are. We know who's actually controlling the socialist communists. Barack Obama. That's why most people are saying, okay, so we're hard up on cash right now. We know what this is all about. This is evil versus good. This is the Democrats against the good. This is Obama and his legions of communists against the only person left in America who still stands for what's good and what's right, and that's President Trump. Donald Trump is the last hope this country has for any kind of a future life as free American citizens. And when Obama destroys anything we have that Trump's tried to do to correct since he left, and I'm talking Obama left office, then this destroys the last chance this nation will ever have to be free again, to have open markets, to have free enterprise, to have capitalism. Because once a country loses all those, so does its sovereignty. And I think that's what Obama has been wanting, because he's been saying that over and over again. There's already a global economy. You can't change it. In other words, he's saying the New World Order is already here. It's already been started. You can't change it. He didn't say it in those exact terms, but what you hear him say, and what he did say during his 8 years of totalitarianism, was like, this is reality, folks. This is what I've started. It's going to continue until it's completed. And you can't change it. You can't do anything. And that's what Obama's whole philosophy is. Continue it over and over again. Bash Trump, bash Trump, bash Trump every single day. Use his cronies, use everybody we can to pay off and continue the New World Order agenda by getting Trump out. Lie, cheat, steal, kill, whatever it takes. That's what socialism and communism is all about. Manipulation, control, subjugation. Kids don't learn any of this in school, by the way, because you see the government, since Obama was in office, he changed all the curriculum. He changed all the books. He said, y'all going to learn what the Democrat Party, the Socialist Party wants you to learn. Sounds like Adolf Hitler, don't it? When Adolf Hitler was in power, he did one thing that most people to this day still cannot believe. He burned books. He made bonfire celebrations where these young people were out in the streets throwing books into a fire, because Adolf Hitler was saying, we don't need these books, destroy them. Does that sound like Obama when he told you on national television, you don't need a gun? You don't need anything to protect yourself. The government's going to protect you. You don't need something to protect yourself. So what if some black comes in and blows your head off? It doesn't matter. What matters is my New World Order is going to come to fruition. It's going to become reality. That's what Obama wants. That's what the communist Democrats want now. They want his programs to continue until they're finished. Folks, that is scary, because it means Obama's FEMA camps that he said were already in existence and had already been opened, they're just waiting. They're just waiting for the day when all the masses of people disappear. Then those who do get saved, he's gonna corral them like cattle into those FEMA camps, and off go their heads, or off go their whole lives through torture, brutality, and everything else, because the Bible already said it would happen. You call me a conspirator? Well, folks, all I'm going to say is this. The Holy Bible has been around for 2,000 years, and I'm not telling you anything that the Bible hasn't already clearly stated in its pages. And for the idiots who laugh and say you're a conspirator, you're a racist, it's because you haven't read it. And you're the joke. You know, the people who laugh and put down other people, they're the jokes, because they don't want to know the truth. They don't want to read it. So make a fool of yourself and don't read the Bible and don't understand what it's been telling humanity for 2,000 years now. And one day, it's all going to just kind of slap you right in the face, and then you're going to wake up and say, whoa, boy, did I not see this coming. No, because you didn't read it. So folks, this is to Channel 11, especially to Channel 11. You can't be an objective organization and an objective newscaster. Get off the air. Stop telling lies about President Trump. Stop telling lies about how blacks are exempt from responsibility and accountability for what they say. Because if a white person can be held accountable for saying something that the blacks consider racist, the blacks should be too. It should not be one race is now going to be under subjection of blacks. That's wrong. It's not only illegal and against the law, but it should be common sense. People should be standing up and retaliating and saying this is just totally wrong and it should not be allowed to continue. I'm David Carter for CBS News. Thank you for watching this program tonight. And again, if you want to know more, go to Channel 11's webpage, email them and ask them, hey, wait a minute, what is this all about? Why are you guys not condoning some black man that said whites must die? Because if a white man had said it to the public, and and saying, hey, blacks got to die, he'd be in jail. Right now, he'd be in jail. That's the lunacy. That's the idiocy of our country today. They don't see fact because they don't want to see fact. They want to live a lie because that's what Obama said he was going to make for the entire world. The lie is, believe in me. Believe in me. That's what Obama said. Change you can believe in. That's not good change when it subjugates people. Thank you very much.
I made this.
Whose idea was this?
His name is Omran Daknesh, just 5 years old, and his feet barely hung over the edge of a seat in an ambulance. Dazed, he didn't cry as he wiped away blood and the dust of a building that collapsed around him in an airstrike. His silence somehow reminded the world today of its silence in the face of the atrocities in Aleppo. Omran was pulled out alive Wednesday. 5 other children died when the building they were in was hit during the relentless Syrian-Russian offensive on rebel-held areas in Aleppo. The image of Omran's face spread like wildfire on the internet. One tweet called him the real representative of the Syrian people.
Stop killing Syrian innocent people, civilian. Our children need to live in peace.
The doctor who treated Omran said today there were many more severe cases no one is paying attention to.
We need to protect our hospital, our doctors, our medical workers from airstrike.
Omran is recovering. His family now wants to escape. The same choice another boy's family made a year ago, Aylan Kurdi, whose body washed up on a beach. He too was a symbol of Syria's youngest victims. Now there's a new one. Tomorrow there may be another. Richard Engel, NBC News.
They've reported from around the world, challenged the powerful, and they bring all of this to every story that breaks.
We've got breaking news, and it's good news.
And touches your heart.
How do you even say thank you? Thank you is not big enough.
I made this.
The images shocked the world. Relentless bombings. Stunned survivors.
Hai, Allah khair yang berubah. Hai, ambil cuti. Selesai. Apa ni? Apa lagi? Apa? Apa lagi? Sudah.